Presence has been detected.
I was born in a dump.
Hello, YouTube music listeners. Spaceman here, and tonight on my video channel, I'm starting a new series, and the new series is going to be called Sound Excursions, and this is basically going to showcase my CD collection. I have a massive CD collection, and I have a vinyl album collection, as well as cassettes, DVDs, videos, etc. So I'm going to be presenting them here, talking about them, talking about which ones are my favorites, how it was turned on to the music, you know, all that kind of stuff, what I like about it, how I progressed through the years into the different styles. But anyway, I'm going to start this off tonight with a package I just got in the mail from Germany. This is actually a hard to get, rare box set, and it's Spooky Tooth. And tonight I'm featuring someone on the telephone he's my brother. His name is John, and he grew up, well, I grew up listening to the music and hearing all the music that he had in his collection, and hence I got a lot of my musical introductions that way, and other ways too, but I'm going to go ahead and open this up because I'm kind of excited about seeing this, and I want to see what it actually looks like. I know what it looks like, but I don't know what the inside of it looks like, because I've just read reviews on Amazon. Anyway, this is where I got it from. Hurricane Records, and I guess they're in Germany. So let's go ahead and open this up. They packaged it very nicely here, and I don't know if I should tell you the price I paid for this or not. We're just gonna leave that be for now. Well, it's sealed, obviously, and it looks like it's in perfect condition. This is it, Spooky Tooth, The Island Years. This would be 1967 to 1974. So let's go ahead and... my brother's on the phone here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to...
ask me some questions.
Right? I'm going to present each CD. Show you each CD, and then I would like to, because I actually only heard like some of this band's music, and I would like to, so I don't know a lot about them. I know of some things about, like The Mirror. I had that album, and I remember Spooky Tooth 2 or Spooky 2, whatever it's called, and I remember that other, my cat's already helping me out here. I remember that other album, Ceremony. So anyway, here it is, and it looks like it's in immaculate condition. So everything appears to be there. There's a poster that comes with this. We'll open that first and look at it. This is actually a poster of who the group was in the very beginning. I actually can't remember who they were in the beginning now, but this is the... who were they in the beginning, John? I don't remember. This is the poster.
Well, it was Gary Wright who, you know,
No, I mean before...
to do the Dreamweaver.
No, I mean before Spooky Tooth. Who were they before? This poster is of them...
Oh, the band. Well, that I don't... I don't know. The VIPs, I can't really...
Oh, okay, that's what it says at the top of this. I think it said...
My memory's a little vague on that part of their career.
Yeah, it says WIP, or no, that's the number of the poster.
Right, that's a long time ago. Well,
I
don't know that.
I have to look back because
I do know how the band, in the beginning, Gary Wright was a psychologist in New Jersey. This is what I understood.
yeah.
And he went to England during the British blues boom, the British blues movement. He went to England and met these other guys, Mike Harrison and Greg Ridley, whatever his name was. Played bass for Humble Pie later on. And he met these guys, and
Right.
they recorded that first album. And when it came out in the United States, it was on Bell Records, which was the label that the Box Tops were on. There were probably a few other groups on that label. I don't remember. And that's how they got their start with that first album. But
Well, anyway, let me get the first album. And I also want to show you this. This is a lavish, nice booklet here, and as you can see, it has a lot of nice illustrations in it. And I just want to hit on this real quick about who. You see, I don't know who they were, and we're not. Oh, the VIPs. Okay. So that was the poster, and now he's talking about. We're gonna take a look at that first album. Well, actually, what is this? There's actually an album here from. Okay, it's called Supernatural Fairy Tales.
Right, that was a compilation album of progressive rock.
Oh, okay.
It came out on CD way back, and I believe it might have been the 90s. I'm not sure.
Okay, so this isn't them. It's all kinds of groups or something.
Different people. I believe Atomic Rooster, all these different bands. I think it's Archie Patterson, who was a rock journalist, a writer. He worked for Green.
No. Wait. No, wait a minute. This says Art. This is
He was affiliated with that album.
Okay, but this actually says Art on it. This is the first band. This is before they were Spooky Tooth. This actually says Art, and I think that was the name of the band, I believe. And that's
Probably, I don't know.
That's the poster. Yeah, that's the poster.
Off with that.
Supernatural Fairy Tale. Okay, anyway, let's go on to the first album now. You can go. It's called Spooky Tooth now. So what you were just saying, go ahead and finish what you were saying now about this first.
Well, what was it? Does it have a track on it, Tobacco Road?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
All right, so I think sometime in the mid-'70s or... Actually, I'm not really sure of the date. Again, I'm not sure of these dates, but it was re-released in the United States as Tobacco Road with a different cover, and I believe it was on A&M Records. But originally it was released in the United States. I can't really remember it was on Bell Records.
Yeah, and I actually owned a copy of that, and I'm gonna turn this camera back up on me now up here, so when I show you these covers, I actually had it on the box here. So that was on Bell, and I owned that record at one time. I remember finding it at flea market for probably like $5 or something, which there's no way you're gonna find that ever again for $5. So that's the album. The album he's referring to here is this one, and that's their first offering here. And then now the second one. What about the second one?
Getting back to the first one. The first one was
Right.
more R&B. So they were kind of emulating American R&B is what they were doing. But with an English, twist. They had the English accent in there. Although Mike Harrison was one of the better singers out of Britain. But it wasn't actually the Spooky Tooth that I liked.
Right.
It was more they weren't really finding their. I felt that they found their direction when they were just being themselves, and maybe just slipping in the R&B, occasionally in a song, or surrounding it with that kind of element. But that first album is mostly just R&B, really.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So it's kind of different from Spooky 2 in that way. Spooky 2 has songs like forgive me, I can't remember the title.
Okay, I'll tell you the titles.
Judas Priest covered it.
Okay, the first one's Waiting for the Wind, Feeling Bad, I've Got Enough Heartaches, Evil Woman, Lost in My Dream. That was Only Yesterday. Here's the song you're referring to, Better by You, Better Than Me. And Hangman, Hang My Shell on a Tree,
Right.
and then there's some...
Now that's 1968, am I right? Or is it 60?
Let's see if there's a year. There's not actually a release year, but I'm sure it'll say it in the booklet. Let me see what it says in the booklet here.
Well, anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that it was kind of like, what is that song called again? Better by You?
Better by You, Better Than Me.
Better Than Me was a song that where the guitar sounded more like what you would hear a few years later, like around 1970 on the Black Sabbath album or on the Jethro Tull stand-up album, and the guitar had that pre-metal sound. It wasn't really a psychedelic sounding guitar at all. Some people would say it was. They think it was, or they thought it was when it was circulating in the rock market. But the sound of the guitar on there, I think it's Luther Grossner.
Yeah.
Sound right? Later changed his name to Ariel Bender when he was in Mott the Hoople. He had a guitar sound. It was Luther Grossner and Paul Kossoff from Free. They both had that kind of pre-Black Sabbath sound in the late 60s prior to Iommi, even before Tony Iommi joined Jethro Tull for that one gig. So they had already were trying to develop this weird sound that you really didn't hear on 10 Years After albums, and you didn't hear it on Cream albums, although a lot of people wouldn't be able to distinguish the difference. Whereupon I'm used to hearing the sound of the guitar and can tell that it was an innovative sound. You see where I'm going with that, right?
Yeah, and
that made the band very different. Made them unique.
Well, Art Supernatural Fairy Tales was 1967. Spooky Tooth, self-titled, it says it's all about, was 1968. And Spooky 2 is 1969. Okay?
So it was 69. So it was around the time that Tony Iommi was just joining up with Jethro Tull briefly. He already had this band called Earth. And Tony Iommi was experimenting with this sound. But actually, he took it steps further on the first Sabbath album. And that was when you first heard a guitar actually having that kind of fullness. Whereas when Luther Grossner and Paul Kossoff from Free, they were kind of experimenting with that sound, and it was leading up to what Iommi was going to do with it.
Right.
So that's how it kind of worked in rock, especially in the U.S. That was pretty evident in the U.S. at that time.
Well, I noticed that the discs they're very nice, but they're just plain black, each one, and it just says Island. They could have recreated the original Island label on each one, but we take what we can get. I mean, I'm not worried about that because I actually have the vinyl version of this, which I goofed and ordered by accident. So now we're going to look at the next one. This is also 1969, and this is Ceremony. Spooky.
Hold on. Go back just for a second here.
Okay.
Spooky 2 is one of their better albums.
Right.
It has an R&B flavor to it, but it has that rock, that distinctive rock sound that they made a stamp. They put their stamp on in the rock world. They had a different kind of approach. And Spooky 2 has a lot of that essence to it. It's a good album, it is. I can't listen to it anymore, but,
Yeah, I can't wait to...
But go ahead to the third album.
Hold on a second, I just want to put this... I'm putting this promo sticker on the top of the box here. And while I'm doing that, let me just show you the third album, and then I'll let you talk about it. Okay, this is Ceremony, and this was 1969. And I remember when my brother brought this album home, he bought it in a bargain bin in one of the local thrift stores or something. And he brought this home, it was around Halloween, I think, and we listened to it. But tell me about this album now.
Well, I guess, the band, a lot of the history I've read about that band throughout the years, they felt that they had made a mistake, by collaborating with Pierre Henry, because he was an avant-garde, a French avant-garde artist, avant-garde kind of composer,
Really? So they thought it was a mistake?
They thought it was a mistake in the end. What had happened was they recorded this album. I'm still trying to remember right at this very moment in time when Gary Wright threw in the towel and just basically came back to the United States and continued to be a psychologist. I'm almost certain he came back to his old job, his old position. And I think that was after Spooky. No, it was not. He is on Ceremony. Is Gary Wright on Ceremony? Clear that up for me.
I have to look at that. Hold on a second. I would have to.
That's the part of their history that gets where things get a little confused.
All right, let's see. Let's look inside here. Okay, here's the personnel for Gary Wright, lead vocals, organ, Mike Harrison, lead vocals, Luther Grosner, lead guitar, Andy Lay, bass guitar, Mike Kelly, drums, with Pierre Henry, electronics.
Okay, so it was that album that kind of added to his frustration, and he decided to leave the band and just come back to Jersey. And so they put out that album. Well, this is what happened originally. They recorded the music in the studio, and then they mailed the demo tape or had it delivered to Pierre Henry. And then he just listened to the songs and added the effects.
Right.
In the end, I mean, in a way, it was a dark album when you were a teenager, and in the early 70s, you would hear it, you would think it was interesting. It kind of had this forced kind of, like something was being forced about it. Like something was not right. Like when you don't prepare food the right way. Something really weird. Or, like Pat Martino says, going to the captain of a ship and asking him to help you, teach you how to fly an aircraft. It's kind of like they sent the stuff to Pierre Henry. It just wasn't fitting. When the band heard it, they didn't like it. When I first heard it, I was a really young kid, and I kind of got that impression it was weird. So I had a trained ear for music, but I kind of picked up on that right away. That, what is it about this record? Why doesn't it seem like it's blending enough,
It's kind of like some of the Lucifer's Friend albums. They sometimes...
No, it's not like that at all.
No. I mean in the way where they mixed elements together. No, I mean in the way where they mixed elements together that didn't really mix. That's what I'm saying. They were experimenting, and to me they mixed up.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying the group was like same style, but in the way where they kind of like were experimenting and mixing elements together, and they really didn't. To me, they didn't always go together. Didn't sound right.
Yeah, it was that record in particular. So the band didn't really. They were down and out about that record. They thought, after it got on the market, I think they were talking about how they had made a mistake.
Right.
And so Gary Wright was like, for some reason, decided to come back to New Jersey.
Why? I'll never go back to New Jersey, but anyway.
So then after that record, they released The Last Puff.
Okay, let's look at that one.
And that one is without.
Wait, hold on.
Right.
I just want to
So you follow the pattern there, right?
look at the. That one is what?
That the last puff does not have Gary Wright.
Okay.
He was in, I believe he was in New Jersey at that time again.
You know,
on the East Coast.
You know, I have a strange story, just real quick. I want to throw in. You talk about Gary Wright living in New Jersey. I got a job once at a Toys R Us in '94, and it was in down near Atlantic City. And my manager approached me with this paper. He said, "We're hiring this guy. Do you know this guy?" And his name was Gary Wright. And I said, "How old is this guy?" And he said, "Oh, he's like in his 40s or 50s." But I wonder if that was the Gary Wright, you know, and because a lot of these people did end up working in stores and stuff. But anyway, let's get to the next. I doubt if it was him. Probably a lot of Gary Wrights, but let's look at the next one. This is the one he's talking about, The Last Puff featuring Mike Harrison. And this one.
Right. And that album was there's some really, really great songs on there. I love the version of I'm the Walrus. That's like metal. It's like the metal version of I'm the Walrus. Is really odd.
Yeah, I actually remember that too. I remember, now that's something I do remember hearing coming out of the basement.
And then there's a song called The Wrong Time, which is one of their best songs. I think it is. And I guess the rest of the album is pretty good, but I'm just not that crazy about it. You know, I think I do like that album, you know, but that was really a couple of the guys that played with Joe Cocker in Joe Cocker's band.
Yeah.
I don't know their names. They joined Spooky Tooth just for that album, so it was a couple of the guys that played with Joe Cocker on Mad Dogs and Englishmen. So those guys were now in Spooky Tooth, and then the album came out, and people bought it, and they thought it was unusual, and then a lot of fans supposedly, don't quote me because this is probably not 100%, but supposedly a lot of fans were disappointed in the predecessor ceremony.
Yeah.
And when they heard Last Puff, they were like, "Oh, Spooky Tooth's back to their form again." You know, so it was kind of like, you know how it's the same thing. People can't accept a change.
Yeah, that's true.
So they kind of went through that. Plus, the band thought that change they went through was a huge mistake, and Gary Wright left. And then he came back to the band for the next album.
I'm just showing the gatefold, the middle of the gatefolds while you're talking here of all the different...
I mean, it's a cool album. I know they do an Elton John song on there.
Now, my brother-in-law, he remembers this album, but he probably wouldn't want to be on the video. But anyway, I want to...
Elton John, what song was it?
Mention that I took the promo
Something to do with
sticker off the box and I put it on the top.
or My Son, or...
And I don't know about you, but for some reason I have this strange thing where I like to, when you open up a CD or something like that and you smell the inside, it smells good. You want to be on this video because you remember this album, right?
What album?
Spooky Tooth.
He wasn't even paying attention to what you were saying.
You broke my heart, so I busted your jaw. There it is. There it is. Anyway, that's it. What were you saying, John? I'm sorry.
Nothing. Okay, so I can give you some insight on that album.
Yeah.
I can give you my personal opinion on it if you want.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm just gonna.
I mean, to me personally, my preference, it's their best album. I mean, because it's got the best songs, the most. You know, every song is just great to me on there. Every single song.
Really?
That is my personal preference. No, it's not for everybody. A lot of people would not go for that. But when Gary Wright came back, they did like the ultimate album, and that was it.
And that's this record right here.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic British rock album with elements of blues and a little bit of gospel and R&B combined. And
I always like this. I always like this picture. I always remember this picture here. kind of wonder if that's what made me like. Well, we won't get into that. Well, we're going to skip that. I kind of had this thing where I kind of liked mean women as kind of sometimes, you know, but we're going to skip that. But anyway.
I'm a growing man, old as I was born. I mean, there's just great songs on there.
Yeah, this is. I remember, you know, some things, you know, I just haven't forgotten over the years, and I remember this album, but I don't know why I'm showing you all the discs, because the covers, the label, the disc labels are all the same. They're all black. They're a generic black with the name Spooky Tooth on them, and that's fine. I mean, they're in really good shape, so that's all that matters.
And that's also around this time they hired Mick Jones, who later played guitar for Foreigner, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, and he's Mick Jones is on here, and that's...
Right, so Mick Jones joined the band for that album.
That's him right here.
And so Luther left the band, and I guess he joined...
Luther Grosvenor. I don't know how you say that, how you pronounce
it. He joined Monta Hoople, or did he join somebody else first? Well, whatever. I think he was in a band called Widowmaker.
I don't know, but...
with Hugh Lloyd Langton, or he was somehow affiliated with some other band, but nevertheless, that You Broke My Heart, it's got that song Wildfire. That is like a tremendous song with harmonica, and it's definitely a great British rock. I mean,
yeah,
just some of the best you're ever going to hear. If you like the early Humble Pie and even some of the Long John Baldry or the early Fleetwood Mac,
yeah,
you're going to like that record because, and not that it's like totally blues, it falls somewhere between what bands like Fleetwood Mac were becoming, what they were evolving into. Like,
that's interesting.
Like on Then Play On, where there was less blues and more.
Very interesting. I really appreciate your...
They say there was like a West Coast, the California sound.
Yeah.
On the Fleetwood Mac album, Then Play On, that they were influenced by the West Coast psychedelic bands. However, when the British bands tried to emulate somewhat of an American sound, it turned out to be totally in a separate world, and it was just, you know, it was completely different from what the American musicians were writing, and that's how that album is. It's really. But, you know, you have to be in the mood for Spooky Tooth because, you know, they're not going to just reach out and grab you. You understand where I'm going with this? Okay.
Yeah, but I think it would be something that would grow on me, like other bands,
right.
and it might end up being, you know, something...
Right.
Right. End up being one of my main or favorite groups, and I'll tell you what, I have everything else, so it's like I was never like a big fan of theirs, but I figure I might as well get this collection while I still can. But anyway, you know, I'm not, you know, what I paid for it, I'll be paying for it next month. I'll put it that way. I'll be paying for this, and I'm not I can't go out for like a whole month now because I did this. But I'm gonna get to this.
Well, the thing is, I was going to say that this has been going on for quite some time now. Originally, and I don't know the exact dates on this, so don't you know, and I won't because it's been too long, but originally, to my knowledge, their CDs were on a German label called Line Records. The Line label, Line, which was compact disc in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And you were able to find these original Spooky Tooth CDs.
Yeah.
Which I would go into these shops in the big city, and they would specialize in imports, and I would see these Spooky Tooth CDs on the Line label.
You mean like 3rd Street Jazz? That was a great shop in Philadelphia. It was awesome,
right.
Man. But anyway, I got to get...
But the point I'm trying to get to is that their stuff was never readily available through all those years. For a while, Spooky 2 was on A&M, American CD release.
Well, you want me to let the cat out of the bag? Since the next CD, you know, has this weird pyramid with the eye on it. Okay, I'll let the secret out of the bag. I paid $250 for this. Now, originally this thing sold for about probably 140, 170. So I really didn't pay that much more for this set. I got lucky, I guess. But anyway, let's get to this next one. It's called Witness, and it's got that pyramid and the eye of all knowledge or something like that, the seeing eye of all knowledge, which was actually referred to as a esoterical, as having an esoterical meaning with the Illuminati. So you know, the Freemasons and all the conspiracies. I don't know why they put this on their cover, but I'm sure they probably got a lot of flack from that.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
So tell me about this album. Was this like, this is an album I haven't heard much about. Was it actually...
Witness is kind of a mixture of Broke My Heart and I don't know what else. It's kind of more of a mellow kind of album. There's a song on there called Pyramids.
Yeah.
Many of the songs, actually there's probably about, I think I recall 4 of the songs being about Jesus Christ, you know, about his life, his teachings, and...
Yeah, because I noticed on one of the, I noticed by the titles, it said, where did I see that? I don't know where it was I saw that, but it kind of, those are crosses. There's crosses if you look in the background. And Witness, actually, to me, I think what this album was about, the impression I got from looking at the cover and the title, and from looking at the inside, which had crosses in the background, my first impression was witnessing about Christ to people, and that this was an element of the evils to come in the world in the last days, the one world government, new world order, all that crap. So I think the Antichrist and all, so I think witness means they're witnessing to, it's a witnessing, a piece of material that's witnessing.
Right.
Okay, because Ocean of Power, Wings on My Heart, I don't know, it just, Don't Ever Stray Away, kind of like, I don't know, that's the impression I got. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
Well, Wings on My Heart would make a beautiful Christian ballad, rock song to do in church. Actually, the band had this element, how can I say this? I'm trying to think how exactly it was, the way they came across with it. They always had a Christian rock kind of element to their style.
Yeah.
Even in the early days, there were a few songs where he was singing about God, you know, in the lyricism.
Yeah.
And it gave you the impression, it used to give me the impression that they were Christians when I first heard it. And this is when I was a teenager. But they kept drifting into the dark side.
You look in the background, you see
they kept going in and out. So it's kind of...
You see the crosses in the background here.
Right, that was like their sort of like what their presentation revolved around some of that. It really did.
So, okay, so then, you know, we're going to get to the mirror.
It's all the way. In other words, it's when they do a song that is about God, and you can easily detect that in the lyricism. Yeah. And the chords sound kind of like a Christian ballad, or right. Like maybe a slightly gospel, or maybe just like church music. And when you're hearing these songs,
it's interesting.
You're hearing more of an authentic kind of approach, as opposed to, well, this is just a rock band that's doing a Christian song,
right,
that's trying to do church music. Spooky Tooth they really had the essence of that, like 100% when they did a song, you know, with that kind of backing. So it was very impressionable. And I used to actually think that they were kind of a Christian band for a while. I started to think that. You know, I remember thinking that when I was a teenager. When I heard Witness, I was like...
Well, you can usually tell a lot of these bands were Christian bands under cover of the mainstream media, because if they had actually come out and announced that they were Christian and made that, commitment or made that identity clear, I think that the record companies may have like dismissed them, or may have like said, oh well, because it was kind of like puts them in a different category. Not that it's something to be ashamed of. I wouldn't be ashamed. Glass Harp was a well-known Christian band from the early '70s.
I don't remember them.
Anyway, I'm going to get to the next one. Now, this one I know because I have this. I've had this for years. The Mirror.
Right,
and
the Mirror.
This was actually the precursor to Foreigner, because if I remember correctly, am I correct on that, John? This was the precursor to Foreigner. I believe Mick Jones left after this, formed Foreigner.
Yeah, and just before Gary Wright.
So if you're a Foreigner fan, you probably would like this CD.
And if you like Gary Wright, the Dreamweaver.
It's not the die-cut version cover, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's the cover. So.
Well, see, the thing about the Mirror is that Gary Wright's The Dreamweaver was sort of reminiscent of the Mirror. In a way, it was.
Oh, sure he is. You can hear him all over that.
Yeah, but not 100%, because when you hear the song The Mirror, the title track, and they get into the flow of the song, and the song starts building up like a Pink Floyd song would, it's building up and building up. It's getting more, intense, right? And that's definitely not Dreamweaver material. And songs like Fantasy Satisfier were, that was a rock song that you'd never hear on an album like the Dreamweaver. So perhaps it was just the essence of the sound that Gary Wright took with it when he did the Dreamweaver. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and by the way, this was 1974.
74, yes.
Now,
that was the concert I saw, the Mirror concert I saw.
So you're saying he left after this?
Who?
Gary Wright.
Yeah, he left, and...
That's another CD I gotta get, is that Dreamweaver. That's the next one I'm gonna get, is Dream...
You're not mentioning that Mike... See, now they had Mike Pato on vocals. You see, Mike Harrison left after Witness.
Okay, yeah, we got Mike Pato now.
And a new bassist, and the same drummer, Mick Jones and Gary Wright.
Val Burke was the bassist, yeah. So, and then we got, well, now that's it for the actual album releases, but now what we have here is, it's a Spooky Tooth live in, what's it say? Live in Oldenburg, 1973. I've not heard this. Have you heard this yet?
No, I haven't heard anything.
Well,
than the show I saw 40 years ago. What year was that again?
I don't. 1974.
So what were you going to ask?
Okay, getting back to the album. This album recorded on the Island Mobile unit at Wessex. Wessex Ems Hall, Oldenburg, Germany, on April 7th, 1973.
Oh, that should be interesting.
So that's actually interesting. I don't know.
Interesting, it should, yeah.
Mixed from the original 16-track tapes. Oh, 16-track at Blitz Productions, London. Anyway.
But I just want to say that they were very different than other bands. Let me just elaborate for a second. Even though they were a British rock band, not unlike Humble Pie and the others.
Yeah.
There were a trillion of them, but there was something about their individuality. There was something about their sound that was identifiable, and know, there was something about, like, you knew it was them. It was distinctive enough, but the way they played, it was just like kind of creep up on you. You know, like, oh God, that's Spooky Tooth. They're really odd. You know, that was the impression a lot of kids would get. They would think, this band's weird, you know. They're not great, but they're just really different. And then after years of listening to the band, a lot of kids in America were starting to get used to this band. And then they started to say they were great all the time.
Yeah.
In the beginning, a lot of kids were listening to them like they were listening to Cream. They put on Spooky Tooth sometimes. You're like, oh, this is too moody, you know, I got to be in the mood. And then the band started to grow on everybody in the United States, all the youth, you know. And that's how they became, that's when they started to become more accepted as having a personality of a band, you know, like a characteristic to a band.
Yeah.
That's accepted by a mass of people, as opposed to the first couple years, people were kind of like, yeah, they're okay, you know?
Yeah.
They're kind of weird.
Well, I've actually...
That Ceremony album, that kind of threw people off, you know, like I was telling you earlier.
I've seen a lot of good reviews on them, though, on Amazon. I imagine primarily by fans. By Spooky...
Yes, there is. But
Spooky Tooth
bad reviews.
Well, Spooky Tooth fans, but they tend to indicate, refer to that this group was very influential on heavy metal, hard rock and heavy metal. And I don't know if these are just, you know, just primarily hard rock fans that are saying this, but they said they made a major contribution to hard rock, so.
Well, you know how, like, when you were a
nice
teenager, you put on Are You Experienced, right, the album, but a Jimi Hendrix Experience, and you'd hear a song, like Purple Haze.
Right.
And then you would hear the next song.
Yeah.
And the next one. And each song was a song unto itself. It was like you were listening to the album, but you weren't listening to the album. It made you feel like you were listening to all these other songs that were like little mini operas, or like taking you into these different places. And it was hard to conceive it was an album. And that's kind of like how Spooky Tooth are on the You Broke My Heart, So I Busted Your Jaw out. They had that. They always had that flow, but
now we go.
It's kind of different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now I want to ask you a quick question before we end this video. Now you have their whole collection, but you didn't opt out to buy the box set, right? You didn't buy the box set, right?
No, because I bought their CDs
Individual.
long time ago. You know, when they were first released on Repertoire, is it?
Yeah. Here I am smelling the inside of record covers again. I know I'm weird. What can I say?
But it's true. They were unique, you know. But you know, not everybody has the same musical taste. I mean, it's profound, you know. But you have to.
Well, I don't know. Some people would
take into consideration other people's feelings. You know, other people are not going to feel the same way about this band.
Well, a lot of people would probably say, well, why did
That's
you...
why these videos are hyped up. So.
Yeah, why did Spaceman buy the whole box set? Well, because enough of through the years hearing about Spooky Tooth, I could trust my brother's recommendation because he's a very reliable source. As in, if you watch one of my other videos called Cigar, Rap, and Coffee, I tell the story of how I used to sneak down into your room. Well, I only did it a couple times. I snuck down into your room when you weren't there, and I took out an album and I listened to it, and I wouldn't like go through all your albums or rummage through stuff, but I pulled out a couple albums. I used to sneak down there and listen to Tarkus or ELP or whatever.
That's hilarious.
There's this massive record collection. There was no stone left unturned. I mean, there was everything was there. I mean, underground, everything. And there's so many things to cover that I could do 1,000 videos on this and just keep going. My CD collection is now...
Dropped on my head when I was very small.
I'll tell you the exact number of my CD collection.
Well...
If you hold on a second, I will tell you. I have 2,404 CDs. I have 30 box sets with this one I just received. And one DVD audio, which is Machine Head on DVD.
An art gallery or something.
Well, unfortunately, I lost 10 of them, though. And I haven't gone through yet to salvage the actual disc, but I had my CD stored in a wall unit, and the cat decided he was going to go up and just got this idea, he's going to back up and take a piss on, like, you know, this one area. So I lost about 5 or 6 Pink Floyd CDs. Luckily, it was nothing rare. It was just the typical release, their usual releases, their major releases. And I lost a few others, Elvis in Las Vegas or whatever that was, which I couldn't care less for anyway. That was when Elvis was crappy, and I'm not really a big Elvis fan. But
well, you have some pretty amazing,
you know,
stuff over there. You know.
Well, what I did was buy a huge piece of plexiglass, and it cost me money. And I covered the entire front of it all the way up to the point where they can't pee, and then I'll cover the rest later. But we only got 2 minutes left. So, is there any last thoughts that you want to throw in on this, or?
Not really, because, and I'm not that informative because it's been too many years, you know. I was lucky to remember what I did remember.
Well, this one album though, is their first. It's called Art. It's when they wrote Art and Supernatural Fairy Tales. So, like,
you should do one on Jules Verne.
On who?
Jules Verne.
Jules Verne.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say I feel kind of stupid, but I don't know who that is.
It's a chamber rock.
Oh, okay, Jules Verne.
Ensemble.
Jules
I wouldn't
Verne.
call it rock. It's got elements of rock somewhere along the way, but it's more...
All right, well, that's it. And I just want to thank my brother, John, for joining us tonight and all his input. Until next time on Sound Excursions, I shall see you later on the other side of the next video. Cheers.
You left me there to die or grow in this place called Tobacco Road.
Presence has been detected.